A again. Okay, let's try and solve an equation. Okay, here's the next example, and yeah, let's see if we can try and work through it. 5 minus 3 times p plus 1 equals 6p. Alright, the first line, 5 minus 3 times p plus 1 equals 6p. Right, so the first step I think is to eliminate the brackets and to take the terms out of the brackets, and so that becomes 5 minus 3 times p minus 3, or 3 times 1. If you can see what's happening there with the brackets, what they've done is simply taken the 3 and the p and multiplied them together, because that's what you do with the two terms. And with the plus 1, they've taken the 1 and multiplied that by 3, and of course you're just left with 3, so that's how you end up with 3p minus 3. And so the second line becomes 5 minus 3p minus 3 equals 6p. Okay, if we look at this third line now, 2 minus 3p equals 6p. Now, what's been done there is they've taken the 5 and the 3, and it's just become subtraction. So 2 minus 3p equals 6p. Yes, so 5 minus 3p equals 3 equals 6p. Right, so you might ask, well, how did they end up with 2? And how did they eliminate the 5 and the 3? And yeah, let's have a look at that one closely. So if you got 5, now we're not looking at negative 3p, we're looking at minus 3. So that's how they end up with the 2. You can see what's happening there. So disregarding the negative 3p, if you just look at the 5 and the minus 3, that becomes the calculation there. So that's how you end up with the 2. I hope that makes sense. So the third line becomes 2 minus 3p equals 6p. Now what they're doing there is simplifying before they're actually solving for p, because that's the whole point. You have to get it as simple as possible before you actually try and solve the equation. Right, now that's in its simplest form, I think. 2 minus 3p equals 6p, and now comes the solving part. Now in order for you to get p, you have to isolate p, and the way you do that is you have to deal with the 6 and the equation on the left hand side. So what do you do there? Well, you have to do the opposite of multiplying 6 by p, and so that becomes a division on the left hand side. You can see what's happening there. Yes, maybe I should step back a bit and actually say that a different way. All right, they're trying to isolate p, so you can see there's p's on both sides of the equation, and they're wanting to bring that up across to the right hand side. And in order for that to happen, yeah, 3 times 6, that's not correct. I'm just wondering, how did they get up with get to 9p? Okay, let's have a look at this a bit closely. Right, what's happening there? Third line's 2 minus 3p equals 6p. Becomes the fourth line, which is 2 equals 9p. Now, obviously, they've isolated the p on the right hand side, so they've done something with the 3p and the 6p. We know that for sure, and so you end up with just 2. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, it appears that what's happened there is they've taken the 3p and just added the 6p. So, in other words, they've just taken the 3 and the 6 and added them together. And that's how you get 9. Yeah, so 3p plus 6p equals 9p. And you're left with 2. Now, I'm not sure what happened to the negative sign there. If you have negative 3 plus 6, that's not going to equal 9, is it? It's going to be equal something else. It's going to be like negative, well, it's going to be, negative 3 plus 6 would be 3, right? That's what I'm seeing anyway. So there's something happened to the negative. Let's see if we can find out what happened to the negative sign there. So 2 minus 3p equals 6p. Now, as far as I can tell, we've just taken the 3p and the 6p and added the 3 and 6 together, and it becomes 9p. So, I think because it's supposed to be a negative sort of equation with a negative 3 plus 6p, so the limit of the negative sign to make it a positive number. So yes, so positive 3 plus 6 instead of negative 3 plus 6. So that's how you end up with the 9p. And that's how they've isolated the, well, not isolated, that's how they've cancelled the negative sign. I think that's the reasoning behind it. Anyway, let's try and move on from that. We're getting a bit stuck and bogged down in the negative signs and in the laws and stuff like that. But that's, I think generally that's the idea, right? They've taken the negative 3 and turned that into a positive 3. And that becomes 3 plus 6. And so you're left with 2 equals 9p. And the final step is pretty straightforward. From there, 9p, that's a multiplication. So you have to do a division to deal with the left-hand side. And so you take the 2 and you divide that by 9. And that will give you the answer to p. In other words, 2 over 9 equals p. And if you work that out, you could do the actual calculation and get the decimal. Let's work that out now. Okay, so if you do the calculation, 2 over 9 is simply 0.2 recurring. That's the decimal solution to that. Okay, so let's just do that quickly again. Solve for p. 5 minus 3 times p plus 1 equals 6p. First line, 5 minus 3 times p plus 1 equals 6p. Second line, getting rid of the brackets becomes 5 minus 3p minus 3. And what happened there? It was simply a multiplication, 3 times p and 3 times 1. So that eliminates the brackets. Yeah, so 5 minus 3p minus 3 equals 6p. The third line is dealing with the 3 and the 5 at the start of the term and at the end. So you're left with the 3p, and that's simplified further to 5 minus 3, which equals 2. So that becomes 2 minus 3p. Oh, you could look at that the other way. You could say 2 plus negative 3p. And you know, if you look at the previous line, that could be looked at 5. Looked as 5 plus negative 3p minus 3 equals 6p. Anyway, that can be a bit confusing if you're looking in that sort of view, but you try to, you know, make sense of the signs, and that's another way of reading it. Sometimes you have to read it like that, you know, to get more clarity. So the third line, 2 minus 3p equals 6p. The fourth line is simply the dealing of the 3p and the 6p. You can see how they're on opposite sides, but you're trying to isolate for p, so you're trying to get the p's on the right hand side. And in order to do that, you simply add the terms. So the 3 and the 6, in other words, add them to get 9, and therefore you can have 9p on the right hand side, and you're left with 2. And because of the addition, you can see the negative sign is cancelled because of that particular addition, and so you're left with 2 equals 9p. And finally, to get the actual solution for p, you just do the opposite for the multiplication. So instead of 9p, you do the division, and that's simply bringing the term over from the left hand side, which is just 2, and you're dividing that by 9 to get p. So in other words, p equals 2 over 9, which in decimal terms equals 0.2 reoccurring. Yeah, I hope that made sense to you. It was a bit a bit confusing there because of the negative sign, but yeah.